welcome to our first digital content series. Thank you for coming. My name is Louise Coburn. I'm the social media strategist here at UNE. I work in the Office of Communications. I manage all of the institutional social platforms, along with being a resource for anyone who would like to talk about their social strategy. So I'm available for any help at any time, any questions. My email is lcoburn1@une.edu. The digital content series will be the third Thursday of every month. We hope you can join us 8:30 here. We hope to move to Biddeford in the new year. And I'm going to let Monique introduce herself.
So hi, I'm Monique Gaudette. I am the, I just changed titles, Inbound Marketing Manager for OWL, so Online Worldwide Learning. It's also called the College of Graduate and Professional Studies. So what I do is create content and also run social media for our online college. So, yeah.
So Monique's going to get started. She'll talk a little bit about the schedule and what we would like you to get out of this, and then she'll start her marketing presentation, and then I'll go into social media and you'll see some.
Yeah. So again, yeah, thank you so much for coming. Yeah.
So should we shift to see this community?
It's not that compelling for mine. I'm more of a talker, so mine are just one-liners, so okay. So the other thing is, actually, that's a really good point, is we're recording this to become a webinar to send out to everybody after the presentation. So if you want to get the presentation afterwards, I have a sign-up sheet over there, just to do your name, email, just to get the link, to get the whole thing. And it includes the slides. So like Louise said, we did introductions. We actually skipped one person. Jay Collier, right here in the blue, is works for the Office of Strategic Initiatives. He'll talk a little bit more about what he does. So we're going to go through, I'm going to do about 15 minutes of a presentation. Louise is going to do about 15 minutes, and then Jay is going to do, I think, about 15 minutes. We're going to take questions at the end, and then we're going to do a poll, because we have no idea who is coming today. So we want to know, what are you interested in? What do you want to get out of this? So I guess keep an eye to that goal for you guys, is what do you want to hear from us for the next time? And then at the end is networking. So speaking of networking, so I went to a conference last year, and one of the keynote speakers was this wonderful Scottish woman named Rose Cameron, who works as the Director of Innovation at Penn State, which she says herself is the coolest job in the whole world. But she said that the only way to success is through networking. She said change happens when you connect people. So I thought that was really cool, that change happens when you connect people. So I would just like to encourage you to not just skate out of here after our presentations are done. Because when you get people together, when you get them networking, when you get them communicating, when you get them cooperating and talking about ideas, that's where the magic happens. So, why am I here? My slide says, what's my win? So we're going to talk about me for just a second. I have 3 wins here today. I would like to get you guys more engaged with and more comfortable with providing content for the university. So posting content, finding out what content is relevant, appropriate, managing your strategy for content moving forward. Second win is building community, doing stuff like this. We have a really neat bunch here. We have some really cool stories. And, you know, our current students know that, our alumni know that, our faculty and staff know that. But how neat is it to be able to tell our story beyond the confines of our campus? So in my third win anyway, is building relationships. I'd love to give more of a voice to our faculty and our staff through our vision blog. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. I'd love to spotlight other facets of our university as they directly relate to my college anyway. And also just want to be here to build bridges. So that's my win. What's your win? So I kind of talked to a few people here, and I feel like that people are in kind of one of 3 camps. Are you good? Yeah. So you're doing content, basically, and you're doing content with the goal of one of 3 things. You are either directly trying to impact enrollment numbers, so getting people to sign up for your club, your team, your event. 2, you're raising awareness of your resource, like for Dune, just getting the word out that we exist and it's a great resource. Or you're looking to engage and be a resource for other people, like the registrar. They provide a service to students, and that's why they provide content. So did I miss anybody? Are you like doing content for any other reason than kind of those 3 general buckets? Cool. All right. So I guess what I wanted to ask this morning, and just keep an eye on this, is what kind of goal are you looking to accomplish? Like, what's your win? So keep that in mind. What's your win? What's your goal? So getting on the same page, defining marketing. That's what my slide says. So this is pretty basic, so apologies. I know you guys all know what marketing is, but I felt like it was good to get on just a piece of common ground for all of us. So marketing is, and always has been, about connecting with your audience in the right place and at the right time. It's about it. In all the different forms, that's about it. So creating content is a type of marketing. Lending your unique voice to the conversation is a way to connect meaningfully with your audience. So recently, marketing has undergone a huge shift toward authentic interactions. So like, I don't know if you saw it, but the video of the students moving in last week, or the program to hatch little birds to combat our mosquito problem, or what the president talked about at our fall assembly, kelp is the new kale. Come on, I want in on that. So nobody wants to see stock photos anymore. We are really craving authentic interactions in today's conversation. And the place we're doing this, obviously, is the internet. So we need to be where our students are, where our audience is, and that's, whether it's on blogs, whether it's on social media, like Louise will be talking about more, whether it's through email marketing, whether it's through visual components like infographics or white papers or ebooks, webinars, whatever it is, we need to be there. And that is content. It takes lots and lots and lots of content. So 5 content marketing tips. So pretty much everyone here creates content in one way or another. So not really my intent to give you a theory lecture on like what is marketing, beyond the sort of top line thing. And I also mentioned that I didn't know who was going to be here before, so I kind of did a quick, like a survey. So on our social media directory page, we have 104 social media profiles. So I clicked on 52 of them and I looked through, just sort of, taking a look at what you're out doing. And you guys are killing it. You're killing it. What you're already doing is marketing. It's social media marketing, but and you're doing a great job. Frequent postings is one of the hardest things to do. So we'll go over the different kinds of content and the best practices in marketing that you can apply to your content that you're creating to get you thinking. Because in this day and age, we are all marketers. We are all public facing. So what if you could amplify your content even more with no extra effort? Tip 1, determining a strategy. So do you have an official written down strategy? Most people don't. So what is a strategy really? A strategy is something that aligns with your business goals. So we talked about your business goals before. That's your win. That's your strategy. So that's also your business goal, your strategy. A marketing strategy allows you to focus on the best opportunities to reach your win. So whatever your win is, your content output should align with that mission of your department. So you're probably already doing that. But is it official? Is it written down? So that would be my first tip. I would recommend you writing down your official strategy and share it with your team and see what they think. Tip 2, understanding your audience. Who are you talking to? And Louise is going to go way into this, so I'm just going to skate over it. But know what your audience, know their goals. How can you help them reach their goals? What are their pain points? How can you help them through their struggles? Let that inform the content that you are creating. So produce the stuff that they want. Another way to understand your audience is scary, but it's actually actively getting to know them. Call them, personally reach out, email them, send out a poll and ask, what would you like us to address? Like, what would you, as my people, like me to address for you? And then take that to heart and create it. Tip 3, timing is key, and analytics are your friend. So make it a scheduled event to look at analytics and see where you are and what's resonating with your audience. It's pretty easy, but make it a scheduled event. So, for example, like I used to post all my Facebook posts at noon because I had read some research earlier that said all of my audience was online at noon. They're checking their emails, they're doing social stuff, and they're online at noon. Well, I looked at my analytics, and my audience personally is online at 9:15 p.m. So I shifted. I'm doing the same amount of work, but I'm posting at a different time, and I'm getting in front of a whole different, bigger set of eyes. So same amount of work, bigger audience. The same applies to email marketing. Which days have your best open rate? What time of day is it best to send an email blast? Does sending a mass email on different days or at different times have an impact on your click-through rate? So it's the same email, but you just get better results for that. Same for blogs. When's my traffic the highest? Mine personally, 2 p.m. So watch for blog posts at that time. And what content is already getting a lot of engagement? What are people already liking and sharing? So make more of that. So what you're doing is you're really creating a force multiplier. You're doing the same amount of work and getting more impact. Tip 4, crafting a great call to action. Always, 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 always have a call to action. If you don't ask people to do something, they're not going to do it. So sign up, call us, learn more. Whatever it is, align it with your win, your business goal, your win. So a call to action is a business tool that will help you get closer to your win. You're trying to get people to do what you want them to do, so ask them to do it. Every time a potential student interacts with UNE online, they are asked to do something, specifically depending on where they are in the process of becoming a student at UNE online. So don't miss that opportunity. Tip 5, testing and analysis. One of the first things you learn in Marketing 101 is always be testing. So fun. So how can you be testing in your environment? So one way is you can deliberately build different types of content and see how your people engage. So what types of headlines, what types of subject lines? How do your people react? What post titles work best? Do they react better to questions or to lists or to do they like a lot of text? Do they just like a little snack of text to get them engaged and clicking through? Look at trends. Was it your writing style? Was it the topic? Was it the format of the content? Whether it's images versus video versus blog posts? Was it a call to action that triggered that action? So results will be different for each of your types of content, obviously. So test, and then learn what works best, and then do it. So from your tests, you should be pulling out actionable key learnings. So what lessons have you learned by looking at your analytics or from running a test of new content that you can apply moving forward? And again, I would just recommend that you write it down somewhere. Write it down along with your thoughts, and because things change. Like my example of Facebook posting at noon. It used to be awesome. Everyone was online at noon. Now everyone's online at 9:15. So it's interesting to look back and see why you decided to do things a certain way, and then figure out how things have changed, because that really is our content. I mean, that's our constant, is change. So those are my 5 tips. And so yeah, as I wrap up my part, I open the floor to a few questions before Louise and Jay give their talks. I guess I just hope that I provided some value to you this morning, got you thinking about marketing, about doing the same amount of work with better results. And I also hope that you're thinking about becoming a guest blogger on the Vision blog. Any questions?
How do you balance the need for an institutional university with just the consumer?
That is less of of a problem, I think, for my specific role than it is like for Louise. In that I don't have the volume, so it's really not. I haven't had to deal with it, I guess, is my answer. But I guess, strategically, I would then figure out what types of problems or issues are coming in and assign different people to those different issue areas. You know what I mean? If you get too many all at once, like if you have a ton of dorm complaints or something like that, just this is your field, go for it.
It becomes a little narrower and what I was thinking.
Oh,
Like making sure that your posts, I know that we drive to buy to just the student, right? So we have a lot of fun posts, and those are great, and I always think it's like guilty as charged. But how do you think about it in terms of making sure that we're still representing an educational institution and not just looking like a travel channel?
I guess having my win, like starting with the end in mind, figuring that what I want is people to be signing up as students. And so having everything be centric to that, keeping the student at the center of things, not it's all about me and my gorgeous campus and this and that and whatever.
And it sounds like perhaps there might be a little bit of curating content so that you have multiple sources of content and multiple sources of ideas for your content that you're creating. So if things are looking like heavy on the sort of scenic side and there's constant talk about scenery and maybe food, perhaps your source of information, whether you're just reading other blogs or looking at other Facebook posts or things like that, you may need to widen it to sort of start looking at sort of area expertise within sort of academia, within certain departments, that sort of thing. That sounds like it might be helpful.
You probably answered the
Along
question
with
way better than I
everything that
did.
you were saying, along with everything that you were saying, yeah.
But yeah, I also get guest bloggers. So like I have people writing about health informatics from a first person standpoint, which I can't do. Like I'm a marketer. I can interview them and pull that part out, but yeah, that's how I do.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Louise.
Wow. Louise.
All right. So, who here is on Facebook? So, is everyone here on Facebook for work? Okay. Anyone? Any other channels? Instagram? Twitter for work. For work. Yeah, for work. So it sounds like all Facebook, a little bit of Twitter, a little bit of Instagram. Anything else? LinkedIn. Yes, LinkedIn today. Yes, LinkedIn is right. Okay. So if you have any questions at any time, feel free to ask. We can take a look at your accounts. We can do whatever you want to do at this moment. So I have my spiel to go through, but we don't have to get through it. So if you have any questions at any time, feel free to ask. So like Monique said, I wasn't sure who I would be talking to today. I wasn't sure if you sort of know everything you need to know about social or if you're just getting started. So I'm going over how this will most benefit you, social media. So some of this stuff you may already know and some maybe hopefully will be helpful. But as Monique said, we want to hear from you so we can sort of tailor these presentations to fit this audience and understand what it is that will be helpful to you. And we're in a lucky spot here because I go to a lot of sort of marketing, social media things, and they aren't necessarily pertaining to higher ed and they are not pertaining to UNE. So here we get to focus in on higher ed, specifically UNE. So with social media, we always want to look at quality versus quantity. So a lot of questions that I get at UNE are, well, I feel like I should be on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and I don't know what to do. And it's like, well, pick one and do it right. So that is of the utmost importance. It's better to be one place than many and do it well and engage with your audience. So should I be on social? So the big question for this at UNE is, do you have the staffing? So does the person have time to monitor and create content? And a lot of stuff Crystal was talking about, which is sort of, being able to have time to read other reports and other blogs and things like that so you can get information to post is really important. So staffing is a big question. And then where should I be is a matter of audience. You have to answer the question is who is your audience? So have you asked yourselves that before? Have you had that discussion within your department? Do you know who your audience is or who you want it to be? So for me, you know, my audience is fairly big. I run the institutional channel, so it's mainly students, mainly undergrad students, but it's also graduate students, it's parents of both, it's prospective students, which is high school, it's the local community, it's donors, it's sort of like it's a lot. So you want to think about, you know, who your audience is and then where you should be. And then just let the money come rolling in. So we're going to go on and we'll talk about now specifically Facebook. So Facebook, it has 1.44 billion monthly active users. And this is generally what Facebook can offer you. So Facebook is, you know, pretty close for men, women. The largest age range within Facebook is 18 to 29 at 87%. So there's been a lot of discussion about Facebook trending older, not younger. That's absolutely not true. Whether they are engaging is another story, but there is, you know, like, so a lot of kids here on campus, or a lot of students, they use Facebook Messenger quite a bit. So that everyone has an account on Facebook, well, most everyone. So there's a huge age range between 18 to 29%, a huge college graduate. You know, Facebook did start in college, so this is very obvious that this would be the case for Facebook, that most of its audience are college graduates. So for us, this is where we should be. Absolutely, everyone should be on Facebook, from a work point of view. The income, you know, is pretty high for most people too. Twitter. So we have a better sort of comparison with men and women. It's a little closer percentage, 24% men, 21% women. So when I think a lot about some of the stuff that targets towards will be more interesting to men, I often think of Twitter with this. Twitter's age range, 37% are 18 to 29. They've got a good pocket that's over 50. 30% are college graduates, which is still very high. Facebook is just really high again, just because it did start in college. So it just got all of the college students. Instagram. So Instagram is a huge young demographic. This is where current college students are. So 18 to 29 is at 53%, which is extremely high. College graduates are only at 24 because most are in high school and currently in college. Most Instagram users. And then you have LinkedIn. So this trend's a little older. So if your audience, similar to Monique's audience, is you know, late 20s, 30s, more so that age, LinkedIn is great. And so that would be a great one for me also. And so 23% are 18 to 29, but the largest bracket is 30 to 49. So this is supposed to help sort of just determine that question, like who is your audience? You know, what age range are they? Where are they living? What language are they speaking? And then think about, okay, what platform suits me best? Does anyone have any questions on that? Have you taken a look at your? So the next step after this then is to take a look at your audience on Facebook to make sure that your target audience matches actually who your followers are.
Yes. Is there any research that indicates, or just something that you base, that like there's an overwhelming amount of accounts for a singular thing like UNE?
Yes.
Like that students are overwhelmed by, I think Monique said 104 accounts.
Yeah.
Like, do you see that? Like that it's like, I don't know whether to follow just the institutional account or if I should be following 50 accounts. Is that overwhelming if everybody's posting daily? Is that something that you're like strategically looking at?
Yeah, it is, and that's an excellent question. And there's two different ways I look at that. For me personally, in my job, I want to know everything that's happening on campus, and that's impossible from a face-to-face point of view. But if everyone's on Facebook, I can know what's happening, and then I can get stories out of that. And so can all of our communications office can pull from that. So, and I think everyone here can pull from that. So I feel like most everyone would benefit from everyone sharing their stories and their interactions on Facebook. but you do address a really important point, which is sort of like overusage, and then sort of accounts being deactive for like a few months, intermittently posting, no growth, that after a few weeks or months, no growth in engagement followers, and then who to follow. So you have. I don't know the answer to that. There is some thoughts, especially around current students, and I don't think they are represented really on social media, even though there's 104, there's actually probably even more than that. So it's just a matter of, I think ultimately it's still a good thing, but I would like to see the accounts sort of, every account being a little bit more, the accounts like making sure they're not inactive and being more active and things like that. So especially I just came across something yesterday, which is a beautiful interaction between the men's soccer team and the women's soccer team. And the men's soccer team came to the women's soccer game and they watched it and they helped set up and there was photos from it. And it's just this beautiful interaction between the two of them on social, thanking each other. And I was able to capture that and put that up. And now those accounts will probably go silent in the spring because they're not playing soccer. So, I guess it's somewhat cyclical a little bit, and some of those accounts are student run, not staff run. So I think we can still get some information from it, but with keeping it sort of more active, I would like to see. Yeah, and the social media direction, I'd like to see that more up to date too. There's a lot more accounts. But I think, and just going a little bit further, is some people are on more than one, which may not be necessary, because if it's sort of like student run and they're trying to be everywhere, so just being one place and doing it well.
We currently have a policy for student run accounts for social media. Can any student just create a UNE affiliated account?
So it's not it's a great question. So students can create, anyone can create any accounts. Or a page. So like the soccer stuff is created. I don't know if that's supervised by athletic staff. I know it's student run. So they can, but for it to be a sanctioned UNE account, it has to have a UNE logo. It has to be staff supervised, and it should go on the social media directory. So if it's student run and it's not any of those, I usually try to check in and see who's running it, because if I'm pointing traffic at it, I just want to make sure that it is sort of, good content. And yeah, does that answer your question? Yeah. Does anyone else have any other thoughts on this? So we're just going to go on to a little bit about goals, and then we'll get wrapped up so we can sort of open this up for questions. Thank you for coming, Crystal. So sometimes I feel like this. You guys might feel like this too. You're just not sure. You're just flooded through the day. But just keep in mind your goals. So Monique talked a little bit about this. So it's promotion, engagement, thought leader, customer service, and conversions. Promotion, engagement, brand awareness, chatting. You guys know all about that. Thought leader is, we have great faculty who are doing great research, and I want to know more about it so I can share it. So presenting them as thought leaders. Customer service, I do a lot of that. Like, where is this? What time is that at? But that's a great way to sort of give someone a good feeling about your page and about your brand. So I think it's a great tool on any channel. And then conversions, that's for paid social. Does anyone do paid social media here? Oh yes, you got it. Yeah, well, of course. So that's a huge big thing on social, and you want to just make sure you're converting when you do paid. So just going back to sort of thought leaders and promoting research. So being an authority on something is being a good explainer when it comes to social media. And so, like I said, we've got a lot of great research going on here, and we use that for recruiting. We use a lot of that. We are not a big sort of like huge school with a lot of sports where we don't like focus in on use a lot of those images like a lot of huger schools. We focus in on our research, and that's what we use to recruit. And so with regards to professors who are doing research who are writing, I would love to see them writing and putting that out for a larger audience. So there's lots of ways to do that just to make it more engaging. And that's the big thing. So does anyone work with any faculty who are writing about their research? A little bit, maybe. Okay, well, if you know anyone who's writing about their research, I would love to chat to help sort of either, if they're already writing, then that's already great. So we can then help sort of get that out there, which is a great representation of them personally, of the department, of the university. It's just a great promotional tool. So a successful social media account is growth. So you want growth in followers and growth in engagement. So if you have 12 followers and you went up by 2 the next week, that's success. If you had one, person like your post and that went up to 3 2 weeks later, that's good. That's success. If you're hanging around 70 likes and you've been hanging around that for a few months, it's time to change things up because things are a little stagnant. So you want to either create different kinds of content, take a look at your audience. Maybe your audience is new. Either it's not the right audience or you're putting out content that doesn't suit someone, but it's just time just to change things up. So a successful account is not a massive amount of followers or a massive amount of engagement. It is growth, whatever that number is. It just keeps sort of increasing. And then just remember, always be yourself. Have a sense of humor. Show yourself. It's really nice. It's personal.
Yourself?
Yeah. I came across as perfect. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts or anything? Yeah, Sean.
Yeah, Louise. This is great, and I'm wondering, for folks here looking to you and speaking about how you have this central channel where you really aggregate, you curate from all of these different channels. Can you paint a picture for folks of, maybe you can talk about this when I stepped out, but what can they do for you? What's your search image that they can map to that would increase the odds that you would repost their content?
Okay, sure. So you should always have an image with every post when we're talking about Facebook, a video or image. So I will never repost anything that doesn't have some sort of image.
That's good.
And typically, the sentence or so is fine, like a little less or a little more, that's fine, that's all good. And then it's just something that's interesting. So, I won't post about events that are sort of student-centric because they're not public events. So if you're posting about an event coming up, I probably won't repost that because it's not public. Keep in mind, we have a big audience. We have 24,000 likes. That's sort of all across Maine and New England. So, and then I'm just looking for interesting stuff. So if you're talking about something that's already been put out by our office in the press release, most likely I've already put it up and addressed that. So that's probably not going to be, I'm probably not going to share that because it's already been done. But for example, so we've got a rugby game coming up on Saturday. This is a big deal. So I'm trying to figure out different ways to talk about it. So I've talked about it twice this week already, and I'm trying to just, I can't keep saying the same thing, but if someone else says something different, a way to address it, then I will definitely repost that because I'm always looking for content too. And then stuff that's personal, stuff that's funny is great. I really, try to work on that. But, if that comes easy to you, that's really good too. So that's a really great question. To take it a step further, so with Facebook, the algorithm is a secret that everyone probably already knows. So when I use Facebook, I have unliked everything besides UNE channels, because all I want to see is UNE channels so I can share and know what's going on. But if you're not posting regularly, I don't see it. It's just the way the algorithm works. I can keep going and it's just hidden. And I've seen this, like I just know certain people will be posting. I have to go to the account to see it. So that is a personal conundrum with me and trying to figure out that. And I've been talking to Facebook about it. The way I use it is not maybe how they would like it to be used. Because of the way the algorithm works. But if you post more regularly, I will most likely see it more because of the way the algorithm works. And if you feel like you've put something great together and you want to get it out there, just shoot me an email because there's a good chance I just missed it with the way things work. But I try to, I check it all the time.
That's cool, and just to say that maps to where the marketing advertising campaign is going, where we've had a central message, innovation for a healthier planet, and now we're releasing ads that we're calling mosaic ads. So we kind of shared this big picture, and now we're going to share these individual stories that come together to make a mosaic of university, because there's so much going on.
Yeah,
And that's really so. The stories that you guys are all telling are panels in that mosaic, and Louise can curate from that to tell that larger story.
Yes. And then especially if you're sharing something too, like all our communication specialists are on there reading it. So, they can pull extra stories out of that. Sean is always looking at stuff from a marketing point of view. So, just keep sharing it. Does anyone have any struggles or thoughts they want to share? If you have a struggle, most likely I've had it too. So don't be shy. Or maybe everything's running great. Is everything good? No problems? Okay. Where is everyone getting their photos from? Use the dam. Yeah, that dam is a good place, dam is really good. Creative Commons in Whitford, right, is a good resource too. Just copywriting, you just want to make sure if you use someone else's photo, it's okay. So mostly the dam is okay and that's okay. It's really easy to walk around campus and grab a snap or like a quick video or anything and attach that. That's also a good way to go. Okay, so yes.
Yeah, good question. So a program in the university that does not have a Facebook presence
Yes.
is already behind a wall, correct?
It depends on who their audience is.
Online.
Their audience is online.
Young
What?
students are alumni.
Both so far.
Okay.
Grad students, busy working people mostly.
Okay. And what is the product? What's the department?
Health and performance.
Okay. So I wouldn't say that you're behind. Definitely not. Absolutely not. It's hard work getting a Facebook following and getting more followers and new followers, and that's a whole separate sort of marketing plan to figure out and sort of either prioritize along with other probably marketing plans that you have. So, and you bring up a really good point. So the artist in residence, I've been talking with her, Kim. I don't know if anyone's met her. If you've heard, she's here for 6 or 4 months, and we've been talking about how she can promote what she's doing on campus. And so I'm really encouraging her to go through her department, because her setting up a separate page, it's a lot of work. And it's hard to sort of it's hard to get new followers and reach audiences. And because her department page already has a presence, already has followers, it's a great place to start. So I don't know if that answers you. So I wouldn't say you're behind, if you feel like you have the staffing and the sort of the time to prioritize that. But if your department is probably on Facebook, right? That's how, yeah. So so your department's on Facebook, so that could be a good way to go too. Yeah. Yeah, sure.
I have a couple of kind of best practices questions.
Yeah.
The library is not necessarily staffed to do social media, but we do our best. And what we one year finally decided to do was at least a Twitter account, a Facebook account, and we also have Instagram.
Yes.
So we're doing 3 things, and I can't vouch to say yes, we're doing them well, but we're doing them okay. And I begin to wonder, if we start to research who our audiences, where they are, and what we find out is they are not on Twitter. Is it bad practice to then decide no longer to staff that Twitter account, or?
No, that's not bad practice. No. Yeah. And we can talk about how you should sort of move away from that. I think that's very smart. Current students I've been seeing that too. I used to work in admissions for 3 years, so and I did social media for them. So my main audience was prospective and current students. And the first year I started Twitter, it was all over Twitter, and that quickly changed. Then into 2014, everyone moved over to Instagram, and then people started moving over to Snapchat. So you're doing the right thing. You need to be thinking about where your audience is, and they're moving, especially when we're talking about college students or younger, they move. So absolutely focus your efforts on where your students are, where your audience
I wonder
is.
about rewarding loyalty, so to speak.
know, if you do have a Twitter following, like email's not your best one, or
Okay.
whatever that looks like. Is it bad when you alienate people if they're following you?
No, so
We can work on this
yeah,
one-on-one, and that's fine.
absolutely. So you can cross promote, which would help sort of, it sounds like there might be a little bit of a sort of like time staffing issue with it. So you can cross promote from Facebook to Twitter to just try to sort of like keep that account active and maybe sort of like see how it goes then for the next year while you take a look. That would probably help with time. And just to sort of keep your followers engaged. You can also start asking questions on Twitter. There's a little like poll. You can do 3 questions. It's really great. So you can start asking questions like, what do you want to hear about? Who's out there? Hi, talk to me. Just start like putting things out there. And then after a few months, you can see like, hey guys, we're not hearing from anyone. And like you can see your follower growth maybe isn't growing. And so you can sort of like say, hey, we're moving over here. Here's where we are. In the meantime, too, keep directing people over to your Instagram and Facebook. So I do that on all my channels. Like on Facebook, I'm constantly pointing at Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and I do the same thing on Twitter and I do the same thing on Instagram. Yeah.
Sorry, real quick question. You talked about Cameron Art and
Yeah.
going through the art department to marketing, which is doing. And we've been trying to do it at the library too, because she's been having it.
Yes, I've seen that.
Is it a weird best practice to like email out to or whatever to other departments that you have social accounts? Like should they be finding out their own because they'll know what's of interest to their audience, or should we be kind of like pushing like, hey, student affairs, did you know that this is happening in the library? Would you like to promote it? Like, should we be reaching out as the administrators of the accounts, or should people be doing it organically?
So you're looking for student affairs to promote what you put on your Facebook page? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not them specifically, just saying.
Yes, I mean, that's a really good question. It depends on how, ideally, so if you talk on email, that's how you exchange. Like if you're on Facebook, you exchange on Facebook. You don't move off of Facebook to exchange on email and back. If you want to just stay within Facebook and contact the other pages via Facebook, I would recommend that.
Just mention it and shout out to them on the page itself.
Yes, on the page itself, or you could just, private message them and be like, hey, just wanted to give you, I thought you'd be really interested in this. I mean, so, this, like, in particular to UNE, some accounts are not as active, so they just may miss it. Like, they might have someone checking in on Mondays and Fridays, and they just might miss stuff like that. So that might be a practice that you want to prioritize, and that makes sense. But in general, you want to keep things on Facebook if that's what you're doing. Yeah. Thanks. You're welcome. Yeah, Jay.
Yeah, I have a question about activity versus inactivity. I mean, in the sort of traditional media model, you publish something, a newsletter, a newspaper, periodically. And you were talking about in social media when something's inactive. There are a lot of accounts that I follow that are inactive,
Yeah.
but they don't feel an imperative to keep doing stuff. It is when something's above the threshold of importance. It's not about doing it regularly, but when something's important, I still follow them because maybe once a week, once a month, once every 6 months, there's something important.
Yep.
So if there's a particular channel that you're on that's not particularly active, are you suggesting to deactivate the account itself, to literally delete it, or are you just suggesting to consider when's the right time to post into it and maybe not put effort into it?
Well, it just, and stop me if I'm not answering your question here, but it just depends on, if your audience is there,
Yeah.
and you want to be there, but you just can't post that often, then keep it. Then just post once a week if that's all you can do, but if that's where your audience is. I guess
Smaller, I mean, I'm talking about this, you have 5 on Twitter or something. It's
Yeah.
a small audience. Is there a negative message to have an account with a small following that's not active? Is it better to get rid of it?
Yeah, I would definitely suggest if there's no growth and there's been no content created for the account after 90 days, it's the time to deactivate it. And that's pretty easy to do within settings, and then it gets deleted after 30 days. But you should probably just kind of talk that through a bit more, because once it gets deleted, it's done.
And you're holding the namespace.
Yeah.
So if you delete an account, and you can't necessarily get that namespace back, so all of a sudden Twitter got really big. I think they block you from being able to reuse that.
Perhaps, yeah, and then you'd have to use a different email address too, yeah, and not your work email, so it does
Just
get,
curious.
yeah, it's definitely something to address and to sort of make a, concrete decision on. But yeah, if things aren't growing and you're like, our audience isn't there and you're just not posting content, it's probably time to deactivate it, contact me and we'll take it off the social media directory. That's all okay, it's not a big failure thing, like it's really smart to focus in on where your audience is and what the right platforms are. So I should probably stop talking. Monique, come on up here. We wanna hear, okay, so can everyone just tell me one item that they want to know about? Just one, whether, anything social, I gotta grab a pen, anything social media, marketing, because we just want to make sure, and in all of these that we are producing going forwards, that we're answering your questions. So, just one thing, starting over here. Anything?
Sure, right now or just in general?
Anything, right now.
The level of interest, I guess, in your respective audiences in like research-based white papers or articles on that are related to but not directly about UNE. So about a relevant program, so like a white paper on health informatics or something like that.
Does anyone have a pen? I should have a pen. So great.
You're so
Thank
digital.
you.
I know.
There's them on the chair over
You
there.
wanna know
if you
more
want to
about
Serious.
sort of like information or?
Voice memo.
Like whether or not it would be worthwhile for us to create sort of a process. So I do research. That's my role at UNE. And so I have a lot of knowledge in certain areas given certain times. And at my old job, we would used to then take that industry knowledge and write and publish
Oh,
articles and papers
Yeah.
on it. Whether or not there's an audience for that.
Okay.
Whether or not there's an interest in that, where that interest lies, if it's general, if it's student body, if it's alumni, if it's like worthwhile to explore as an option moving forward.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Definitely.
Excellent.
Yes.
So yeah, that's one of the reasons that I'm here is to see if like
Especially for the
because-
graduate
Yeah.
level of the audience.
Perfect. All right, cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
For us.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's something that like I and my team have pretty specific but wide knowledge in certain programs or industries or markets, and like whether or not our audience and readers would be interested in us then writing about that.
Okay.
I think that ties into the point I think Crystal was kind of talking about, is having a social presence that is, which is different with on-campus undergraduates, which is day-to-day, like how people are thriving on campus and what they're doing and getting them involved versus, and coming here at school versus trying to get people for an online graduate program who are all over the world enrolling in a program. I think articles and information like that are a great way to use to promote UNE through paid advertising. Like are you interested in this topic? This article is great. Here's give us your information and download it. It comes in. I think that is one way. Because then you can promote that specifically, that topic to the specific group instead of UNE online or UNE in general. It's very, you might not hit that person, but if you're promoting it with that interest in mind, specifically through a paid ad or promoted post.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. What would you like to hear about next time?
I guess for me, I'm not a data person, so
Okay.
learning more about Google Analytics and that would help me.
Okay, right.
Well, I suppose, these are questions for like what I hear next time?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
but if you have a question, go ahead.
I was just interested to know where you put wonderful, what years of
Oh, I could send them to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, want me to send it to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got them on Sprout Social. That's who I use for the social media management tool. I got it on their blog.
Yeah, I would love that.
No problem. I'll get that to you. And if anyone else wants them, just let me know.
I'm here today mostly as a client, but also to say thank you to both of you. My name is Jay Collier. I work
Oh, yeah.
in the Office of
You want-
Strategic Initiatives, and on behalf of our Vice President, who's Ellen Bollier, who's really interested in this. Thank you for your time in preparing this. I have some background in this area, but mostly right now, I'm a new client for many colleagues here at UNE, and that we're starting up a new program for young professionals. That's an accelerated learning program called the Digital Sciences Academy. So we are going to be building a sub-brand and awareness from zero. Even less, you all have departments, you have internal brands. So I'm really interested in learning, and it'd be really helpful maybe for next time. If you can point to example marketing strategies that integrate social media, like samples on the web that can be a structure that can help us do our homework before we meet with professionals, just in terms of prompting questions, the ones you've mentioned, that would be really great. Just have some place to start.
Yeah, great, thank you. Anyone else have any thoughts on what they would like to, want to hear more about Facebook Insights? Yeah.
I work at the College of Medicine.
Oh, great.
So a big thing for us is learning how to turn impressions on Facebook into customers.
Okay.
I think the majority of the people who follow our social media pages are usually students or family of students. And we do have some patients, but not many. So maybe just learning how to find our audience in terms of patient care. And also creating content that would educate them. Because I think for us, the big obstacle is that a lot of people are kind of nervous about going to the dentist, and especially having students who are learning dentistry, practicing on them is kind of scary. So learning how to create content that might be more educational and sort of informative.
Right. We can definitely help with that. Anyone else?
I don't know if you know, or how easy it is for you, or if there's a good way to go about getting. I think the best way to define your audience is to look at what our past audience has been, graduates, current students. Maybe finding a good process that we can all use to get that kind of historical information and data from the university that will help us really define our audience. Where they are, their demographics, all of that can really be a really good starting point, stepping stone to find where your patients are, just looking at the historical data of where they come from in the past. I don't even know how the right way would be to go about kind of gathering that information.
Okay, so you're looking, that's a great point. So you're looking for data on sort of generally like who is the undergrad students, who are the graduate students?
Yeah, by the department or by the program,
that would be,
because we don't have a centralized CRM or anything like that.
okay.
Maybe it would be really great for everybody to know the easiest way to go about getting that.
And so just, do I have it correctly? You're saying, like, for example, you would like to know like what the demographics of the medical school student base is?
Yes.
Would that be? Okay.
Current students and alumni.
Yeah. That would be really great. Yeah. Yeah, I can check in with her. Yeah, institutional advancement and research would be a good place to start. And they're right next to us, so I can check in with her on that.
I mean, that's a really good segue also to finding out more about the tools that monitor multiple accounts, allow you to post in multiple accounts, and also pay attention to knowledge about constituents, where they are, lead generation and CRM, whether that's something that eventually could be provided in a central way for a number of different departments, which would also help us potentially not like overlap on top of other key communications that an alum, for instance, or a student is getting. And it's kind of a big question, but if that kind of thing were available, plant the seed for that. We'd love to kind of buy into a campaign within a larger system to be able to really be effective.
Yeah. Does anyone here use a social media management tool to manage their social media? Oh yeah, TweetDeck is great. I love TweetDeck. Yes. I use Sprout Social. I think you use
We use Hootsuite.
Sweet.
Okay. Would that be helpful going into maybe learning how to use Hootsuite more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they have a
I
free
need to learn
version,
that.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, do they? Because I know we pay, I think, $15 a month, so it's not a huge
Okay.
amount, but-
Yeah. That's good.
So I'll make you. I think that's all we have.
Finish.
The big finish. So what's
Fun,
our
yeah.
call to action, right? No, I guess I would just encourage everyone to kind of like mill around, eat the food, because it's in an awkward space. Sorry about that. No one has eaten any of it.
We might maybe think about a different room for
Yeah,
next time.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
up for it.
depending on Bill, if you want.
I know, right? Or my bagel, whatever. So yeah, help yourself to coffee, bagels, muffins, whatever. And yeah, try to meet someone new and see what they do, see how you can work together and collaborate. Because that's where the magic happens.